Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we have another experiment for you guys, and that is answering a question: is there such thing as too many wheels on a rover? Right, so honestly, I was actually going to try a different experiment for this week, and that was actually building a very long rover so that we can use it to cross the crevice of Pertam, the wastelands. However, once I created such a long rover, this happened. So as you can see, a very long rover such as this is just freaking out and clanging out like crazy, and also lagging at the game as well. But if I jump in it, you'll see how crazy it gets, and it just gets twitchy and everything until it falls on its back. Once it's on its back, then it settles down, server is alive again, and everything seems okay in the world. But the moment you flip it back over, it clangs out for whatever reasons, and that's what we're gonna kind of figure out today. But to answer the question, yes, there's such thing as too many wheels on a rover. Alright, so I've been tinkering with it for quite some time to kind of see what is the maximum amount of wheels or sets of wheels you can have for a rover. And it seems to be the good number is roughly around the range of 30 to 34 wheels, give or take. Because I've been experimenting with this, and here and there, depending on the load, it acts a little bit differently. So here is a 3x3 wheel rover, one cube apart, as you see here, in 31 sets. And when I say set, I mean left and right wheel together, total of 62 wheels, both sides collectively, is kind of the magic number. And having that set up with the default settings, nothing adjusted here, and that same goes for the one that clanged out, nothing changed there whatsoever, it actually works out okay, as you see here. I mean, you might experience some clang once in a while. This is actually the first time that actually happened to me, so it's a give or take. It has 31 sets of wheels left and right, but for the most part it seems to work okay. So again, magic number is around 30 to 34. I would probably stay closer to the 30 or 31 mark, so you have less experience with clang. So that seems to be a good magic range or number, but I wanted to also test out what is the difference, if there is any, in terms of the width between the wheels. So the one cube here, the range was 31 for the most part, but if we added two more cubes to it, or blocks, we have a width of 3 blocks or 3 cubes, and see what that range was for the magic number for the wheels. And surprisingly, it's actually the same. 31 wheels works pretty much the same. It is, again, a give or take situation. And as you see here, it drives okay. It's a little shaky, but it works decently. And again, it's a give or take kind of situation, because this load, for whatever reason, is acting up. And in previous sessions, it didn't do that for whatever reasons. But we took another step. Let's just double that up. We put 6 cubes wide, or 6 blocks wide. And since it's using even numbers, I just put the buggy cockpit instead of the control seat, which is 3 width wide. Same thing, 31 sets of wheels, 6 wide is the difference. Wheel settings by default, and we drive forward, it wiggles a little bit of a clanging session here. Nothing too crazy, but again, 31 sets of wheels, 62 wheels total, works out pretty well. And you may be asking, why don't I test it for other size wheels? I didn't test it for 1x1 because I think 1x1 suspension and wheels are fairly useless in some ways, especially making a rover. But using a 5x5 situation, or 5x5 wheel, it's the same thing. If you add more than 30, you can see this one already, it's way over 30, and it's just slanted over for whatever reasons here, and it's just it's just clanged out. If we drive it, I'm pretty sure it's gonna wig out a bit and go a little crazy. but why not play around with it and show you guys too? So you see here, if I take it off parking, I'm drive it forward, it is wigging out as you see here. It's just going crazy until I hit space or handbrake for a little bit. Then it just settles down and it's trying to flip over to its backside for whatever reason. I'm not sure why it does that, but it just does. So what is the limit for the wheels here? So the limit is similar range, but actually the 5x5 wheels can take a little bit more wheels. So this one here has roughly 33 sets of wheels. And again, it's a give and take kind of situation. So it might go crazy, might not. So 33 wheels right now looks fine. Another test or another session that I loaded up, 34 wheels was fine, or 32 was fine. And yeah, as you just see there, it's freaking out just a tad, but that's the magic number. It's roughly around the 30s, give or take. I would probably say plus or minus, to be honest, and that would be your magic number in terms of the range of having way too much wheels. This works out okay. It's not too bad, as you see here, and you know, not a lot of lag in that sense. But what about large grid? Honestly, I'm not going to test the large grid currently. Might be for the next one. But I think if we say 3x3s was about 30, 31, and then 5x5s were about 33, that are okay. So I think the larger you go, the more wheels you probably add on. Maybe. Can't confirm that, but maybe I'll test that some other time. Alright, so I know you could probably say, go to the settings, change up the wheels a bit, and kind of make it perfect. I honestly probably don't know how to do that. Probably don't have that time to invest to do that as well, to change each individual wheels. So I would probably just play around with the full sets of wheels for the most part. So using all these wheels on this 5x5, I figured out most of the situation in this clanging situation. It's actually the friction. So if it clangs out like that, you can lower the friction just a bit. And as you see here, it's not causing that same amount of clang as it did before. Even a smidge of it. You don't even see it wiggling a little bit. You don't see it flying up a little bit. I'm gonna turn a bit, and it does get stuck when I turn, as you see here. But that makes sense because of the amount of wheels. But other than that, you're not seeing the little wigging out and everything like that. So that is where you can add more wheels now because of that friction change. But is there a limit to that? And the answer is going to be yes, because probably I would say close to 60 wheels or maybe even more here. And if we change the friction to almost zero, it kind of stops clanging out, but you can barely drive for the most part, as you see here, which is not ideal. So if we maybe change it a little bit higher, I don't know, maybe 15%. As you see here, we're not really going anywhere, so it's not ideal, but it is reducing that whole wigging out, clangy situation in that case. But if we went to, I guess, 40%, it might work out, it might not, but as you see here, it is clanging out a bit here. So we got to keep playing around with it. Maybe 30 might be it. So it looks like we flipped that over. So 30 is working okay. Nope, it's freaking out a bit. And we just lost some wheels. So as you see here, playing out the friction does help, but it's not ideal to have the friction way too low, because once you have it way too low, it just doesn't really drive anyway. So what's the point in that sense? All right, so yeah, there is such thing as too many wheels for a rover, and the limit in range is roughly around sets of 30 wheels on the rover to make it okay for the longest rover you can possibly make. There are other alternatives that you can do, is probably link them up with subgrids to make it work fine. But in terms of one entire grid, this experiment proved that yes, too many wheels can be an issue. Alright, so I'll be honest with you, I recorded this the second time because my first session actually lost all its audio, so I had to re-record this once again. So if I miss anything, I apologize, but yes, feel free to leave a comment down below and kind of explain, if you can, how we can kind of fix this the easy way. If we have to do it all individuals and sections, that's not the easy way, but that is a solution. But I think friction is your main cause here, and if I'm wrong, just let me know. Right, so of course, if you enjoyed this experiment, hit that thumbs up, like the video, consider subscribing to the channel, hit that notification bell, leave a comment or two down below, and of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.